Good evening. Thank you for tuning into our show. My name is Mark Warhol. This show is brought to you by the 4-Point Theater Channel. In case you don't know, the 4-Point Theater Channel is an ensemble of artists from the worlds of theater, music, visual arts, and everything in between, working together to create anything we want to create. Tonight, this evening, we have a special show featuring the talents of several 4-Point Theater Channel artists. We'll be showing the animated film Où est Fleuri Rose, or translated from the French, Where is Fleuri Rose?, which is a result of a collaboration of several artists. I wrote the story, composed the music, and produced the film. Nick Thorkelson, who's joining us tonight, acted as art director and animator. Amy MacDonald is also an animator. Julian Peshek played the crucial role of editor, and the musicians performing the music of this film were John Jensen from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Catherine Isalis from Montreal, Quebec. So this film is about 23 minutes long, and after this showing, I hope you will stay tuned as Nick, Amy, and I will describe and discuss the creation of this animated short film. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed our film. I want to cue you in that actually it's based on a true story. Yep, believe it or not. For years, I worked with the Quebecois flutist Catherine Esselis, and at some moment in time, whatever it was, she confided in me that after she left to go to school at the Conservatoire, she found out that her mom had thrown away her bear that she had when she was growing up. It was a pink bear, and his name was Fleuri Rose, which is a pretty sad story. So I decided to rewrite the story. Two important changes I made is one, Fleuri Rose was thrown away accidentally, and two, Fleuri Rose returns home at the end. So I got my story, I composed all the music, and then I knocked on Nick Thorkelson's door and said, "Hey, Nick, I want you to make an animated film for me." So I was wondering, Nick, what did you think when I approached you, and what approach did you take to a project of this huge size?
I didn't know what to do. I think you were under the impression I knew something about animation, and because I had done a presentation in PowerPoint format, which involves some very crude animation, and we showed it as part of FPTC. And but I'd always wanted to do animation, and I started off on many wrong feet. I thought, okay, I need to assemble my cast of characters. There have to be dolls. In the middle of this, I met Amy, who taught me how it's really done, how animation is really done. But in trying to think about the design of the thing, I went off on this tangent of collecting dolls and stuffed birds and things like that, and trying to build a look for the thing. And eventually we had storyboards and we started animating. Amy animated the first scene, the two scenes in the nursery, the beginning and the end, and she invented the character of Catherine as a little girl, Katrine as a little girl. And I did the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Do you call them movements? I think I've always called them movements. Mm-hmm. And built them up through collecting images from sketchbooks and from going on. Around that time, I discovered Google Street View, which was invaluable. All those shots of the garbage truck racing through the alleys of. I was always under the impression that Catherine lived in Quebec City, so a lot of those shots are from Google Street View, where you can actually advance one block and make a sketch and advance another block with your mouse. And I just that was the process of developing characters, developing and just paying really close attention to the music and letting the emotional quality of the music dictate what was going on in the story. How long did we work on it, Mark? And Amy. It seemed like years. It was years, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was. We worked on it. Or you and Amy worked on it at least 2 years, about 2 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, usually when you animate a film of this length or longer, you hire a staff of 100 or 200. Mm-hmm. I think we accomplished a lot in 2 years. Yeah. I really love seeing that movie. I always love seeing it.
I can't believe that was your first animation.
Well, I did flip books when I was young, so it wasn't totally my first. So Amy, you were the character of Catherine. Catherine was on you. I was interested in asking you how you imagined her, how you created her.
Well, I couldn't remember how old. I tried an older version and a younger version. I think there were 3 that I sent to Mark. But how I did it in the first place was I just kept drawing a girl and it's sometimes she looked about 14, sometimes she looked about 5. And she always looked like this. Yeah, she always looked like this girl that I drew, like my default cute little girl with bangs and pigtails, and usually a ruffled collar and ruffled socks. I started drawing her in a cartooning class at the museum school of the Museum of Fine Arts with Omar. He did the murals at Casablanca Club, and he Omar White, is that?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't he do that rabbit comic for the real paper?
Yeah.
In history, but yeah. He was great.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and it's also, I spent a lot of time in my room, so it's and there were 2 things that had to happen, and I was like, she's got to be some kind of dancer to fill up all that time.
Well, it's the waltz, that first movement, so
yeah,
most of it. So why not?
Yeah. It's my turn.
We'll get to questions from the people from the audience in a little.
Are there questions from the audience?
Yeah.
Would you like, or should I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I wanted to know if Catherine had seen the film.
Unknown. We worked together for a number of years, and our lives led separate paths. I don't really know, but John Jensen, the harpsichord player, he watched the live stream from London last month.
Oh.
And one of the things that blew him away, he was just freaked out, is how well you, Amy, and you, Nick, integrated the action to complement the music. I mean, John Jensen is the best pianist in Minnesota by far, by miles. And this guy is one of my heroes, and he's just going on and on about how everything was so coordinated with the music, and he was totally impressed.
Wow.
One of the favorite movements to compose was the train movement. The other movements are like, okay, movement 1, Fleuri rolls get thrown away. Movement 2, I just have one sentence, but with the train movement, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the train leaves the station, then it goes to the countryside and goes to the city, and then comes back into a new station. And that was really fun to compose, and I thought Nick really captured that really well. Is there any particular movement, Nick, that you had that you enjoyed animating more than any other?
That one certainly. I'm a train buff. My whole family was, and the way you get jostled on a train, and and the way the world goes by in such an unnatural fashion, and so many things I was able to bring into that. I think the first movement I worked on was the one in the dump. The second.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's got a slightly different style than the rest of it. I wound up using a lot of really rough drawings from the storyboards, and not polishing them or smoothing them out, because I really kind of like the way that it's called Terror, right? The name of that movement is
La Terra.
Yeah. I kind of thought of Fleuri as a child, and I think that the experience of terror, the experience of not knowing what's next, and not knowing where to turn for help, changes the world, changes your perceptions, and figures that should be autonomous and complex become like just flashes of lightning, um, and in one shot he twirls around and falls into an abyss. And I've been watching a lot of Japanese animation lately, and that's a very common thing in adventure stories told in Japanese animation. And they're beautiful, they're great, but there's a certain way that it's always done, and
Okay.
it's kind of literal. It isn't, and it doesn't it doesn't convey for me the way a nightmare really feels. I had fun with that. I had a lot of fun with that one. And then the second part of that movement, when he's rescued by Travis, by the way, everybody, we had, Mark in those days had this marvelous dog, wolfhound Travis, that we modeled the character of Travis on. And he really should have been in the credits, because I don't see how we could have done it without him. But when Travis rescues Fleuri and takes him home, takes him to that place, the tone completely changes. And I was thinking, seeing it now, that it's kind of like film noir. It's like it's the music even gets a little jazzy, and and just the way that light plays on a city in the early evening and in the middle of the night, which makes those old movies so romantic. I had a lot of fun trying to recreate that feeling. And I'm not stating a preference. I also really love working on the movement after that, where Fleuri gets patched up by this group of allies, and just sort of imagining this house, which also is very much coming out of my dreams. That just seems like a house when you go into it, but it turns out to be a mall, a palace, a totally mysterious and endless structure full of wonders. Yeah, I like working on all 5 of my movements. It would be fun to. It was fun remembering how much fun that was.
Yeah.
I want to ask Mark, if you to describe the musical language of Uwe Fleuri Rose. I know a little bit about who your heroes were in modern music, and what traditions you drew on in the different parts of your career as a composer, but I'd like to hear how you would describe it.
Well, it's obviously classical music, modern classical music. It's I picked the flute because Catherine could play anything, literally, and she always performed this piece from memory. By the way, the whole thing. Of course, she was young, But man, she always. And I picked that, and the harpsichord. I knew a guy that made harpsichords, and I always liked harpsichord. Harpsichord is unusual for modern music, but that's what makes it sort of cool. It has a very nice sound. So the music is pretty would be classified as modern. Each of the 7 movements has a string of 30 random notes, and that string of random notes generates all the music in each movement. So there's 1 string for the first movement, 1 string for the second movement, and those strings are just manipulated in a way that has nothing to do with major minor chords or anything like that. I tried to make it exciting as possible with a strong rhythmic drive, because in the 20th century, let's face it, rhythm is a huge factor in music. And so that was my goal, and I think it's pretty exciting. It's been performed as chamber music, say, for example, flute and harpsichord in a concert. We performed it also once with with the mime who created the stories. That was fun. I've been looking for a puppet company that would do it, but it's really hard. I just haven't been able to locate somebody that's willing to make the plunge on that. But I'm not going to give up. That's one of my goals. But I like the film because you can get away with a lot. I mean, you watch this film, the action's very pleasing and exciting, and you're not sitting in a classical music concert and saying, that doesn't sound like anything familiar. I don't like it, So film composing I sort of like. I mean, the action helps the audience get into the film. The images help the people understand the music, and it's a win-win as far as I can tell. And Amy, as I understand it, you did a lot of animation previously.
I did. It was a full-time job for 9 years. I didn't know anything about animation when I first got that job. I questioned why they hired me, but I could draw, and that was really what they were looking for. And yeah, I started off on Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist, which was on Comedy Central, which is why I'm just stuck on those Dr. Katz eyes. They're round with tiny little pupils. I have a hard time breaking out of that, but other shows for soup to nuts, which is no more. And some larger things lately, like a grid with 24 more animated GIFs, not story driven right now.
Where did all those stuffed animals come in the first movement? Were those yours?
Some are just, one was a placeholder, the one with the crown. I just like, I think Nick said he liked it, so I said, okay, she stays then.
That's quite an assortment of characters there.
So yeah, I just thought every kid's got to have a robot, Godzilla, a teddy bear. Velveteen Rabbit was a favorite book when I was young.
Oh, okay.
Raggedy Andy, and some doll with like ringlets and too much lace. But
I always love the shot, the bit where the dragon is trying to persuade the Velveteen Rabbit to
thank
jump
you.
off the dress.
That's my favorite part too. of mine. In yours, there's so much, but I love which the people in the train try and scratch Fleuri's head.
Yeah,
it makes me laugh every time, and I don't know how many times I've seen it.
Yeah, in Monaco, where that part came, where the people reached out to scratch Fleuri, people just laughed their ass off. That was so funny. They're just cracking up right and left.
Yeah.
Actually, in Nick's movement, the train, the reason you have a cowboy there is when I was growing up, my bear was named Cowboy Bill. And so I asked Nick that there's supposed to be a character that harasses Fleuri Rose. Why don't you make him a cowboy? And so that's Cowboy Bill. That's why that's on there. I still have Cowboy Bill. Nobody's ever thrown him away. I still got him, man. No hair. He didn't have any hair, but I still got him.
Everybody thinks he looks like Lyndon Johnson. He was supposed to look like Danny DeMiller, who was our neighbor at the building where I lived for 10 years and where Amy lives now.
My neighbor across the hall now.
Yeah. Danny is your neighbor. Yeah. Danny DeMiller is an actor and a painter and other things, and he agreed to sit while I videoed him, rapping and being as boring as possible and as excited. And he started spinning this yarn about being a Naugahyde farmer and all these unruly animals that he had to take care of. And so that was very helpful for me in putting that part together. But somehow when I tried to draw Danny, he came out looking like Lyndon Johnson. I don't know how that happened.
Nick, my first question for you is probably way too, well, have you just always drawn? I'm just amazed by the amount of drawing you did and the inventiveness, and it kind of starts with the trip, well, it starts as soon as we leave the home area, but especially when they're in the tunnel and those weird
Mhm.
characters are coming towards us. It's just such a great, how, do you keep a sketchbook all the time? Have you, or do you just?
I did when I was young keep a cartooning sketchbook and just drew constantly, imitating my favorite comic books and animated cartoons. And I think if you put any group of cartoonists in a room together, they pretty much had that same experience of the, for whatever dark or light reasons, of having a feverish imagination or something. You just have to draw people all the time and put them through their paces, and think about how how heads look from different directions, and how you can abbreviate gestures so that they're legible, and all that stuff that cartoonists do. So this, I mean, I didn't do any more drawings per movement than you. It's like, what was it, 22 frames a second? And of course you can cheat a lot. You can
Right.
create a repeating motion so that you can use the same the same drawings more than once, but still, that's a lot of drawings. By the time I was done, I said, well, time to go back to comics, where you can do one drawing for an action that would take a few minutes in an animated cartoon, and therefore hundreds of drawings. Do we?
I have questions
Luke,
from the audience.
you say we had some questions?
I would totally take on something like this again. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love animating dancing, I realized.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I don't know.
You have Catherine dancing there in the first move is pretty cool.
I want to do more of that. Like, I
Yeah.
want to give her more moves. There was
I have another question for you. So having worked, I mean, yeah, you didn't really speak to this yet. Having worked in commercial animation, what are some of the things you can do in commercial animation that you couldn't do here, and what are some things that you could do in a project like this that you could not have got away with, let's say, at Soup to Nuts? Is that what the studio was called?
Yeah, well, Soup to Nuts, this was fairly similar to the way we worked there. We got the audio first, and then we developed the environments and the characters to go with what we heard. And we have the same, everything has to be royalty free. No brand, no obvious logos, no swearing, no middle fingers. Maybe that'd be Fleuri like 2020. But,
Like those.
it was really similar. I guess I felt like I could go a little bit more off model, and we had a little more freedom because we had a little more time. I mean, the deadlines are crazy for TV shows. So
Yeah.
I mean, I have parts where I feel like I abbreviated and would have liked to do more. I think I'll feel that way about anything I see that I've ever animated.
Yeah.
But, it was, I guess that's it.
Well, it was really a nightmare recording this because, with contemporary music, there's a lot of notes and you're pounding away on that harpsichord. And it's an instrument that was designed to play very simple stuff, back a couple hundred years ago. And so we had to have a harpsichord. The guy that made the harpsichord had to attend all the rehearsals because strings were constantly breaking. And the little plectrum that comes up and pops the string, those things were flying out.
Wow.
So about every half hour, we'd have to replace a plectrum or a string or retune it. And
Wow.
sometimes I wonder how that instrument ever made it, I swear. But it was,
It's a good thing
I'll
you
never
had-
write another piece for harpsichord, I'll tell you that. It's a great instrument, but modern music's rough and that stuff is so, those chords that are played, it's just bam, 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 bam. And that poor harpsichord is practically dust by the time he got done.
Wow. I had heard that story before. But was this, and I know you, and my next question is for you. Was it like, I know you're opera fans, and I was feeling very melodramatic when I was acting out Fleuri. So I don't know, was it kind of like directing an opera for you? Is it set up? I don't know much about music structurally. So is it the same formula? Did you have that in mind at all?
Yeah, it's operatic music because it's geared toward action. I mean, personally, I don't compose music like, for example, string quartet number 3. I just don't do that because what I need is a story. And once I have the story, I interpreted it operatically, whether it's chamber music or an opera or a film. And so everything's very gestural, exciting. And but if I don't have a story, it's pretty hard for me to really get fired up about it. Once I have the story, boom. Though it did take me about a year. It took me about a year to write the music, but it was fun. But I need a story. And once I have the story, I write operatic music all the time, no matter what it is. And this happened to be a film. I like to do dance too. Dance is, I love to write dance music. I've worked with a number of dancers, and that's very dramatic too. Very gestural and movement and exciting and stuff like that.
Mark, I know you. I just want to plug I Dream of Jeannie. I think you worked on that for some years after we finished Fleuri Rose, or maybe you'd already started it when we met. But you wrote some. This is an opera that involves a great deal of dance, and you worked with some great dancers, and our group was able to put on. Well, you put on, it was kind of under our rubric, the various parts of I Dream of Jeannie, which still hoping to see all that all put together. And did you ever record any of that music?
Yes, I have about half the opera's been performed, and we have videos of that on my website. And also, after the performance, we go into the studio and record it. I mean, everybody knows it, so that's a perfect time. Talk about previous work. The other day, I was watching the video on the Fort Point Theater Channel website about 10 years of productions.
Yeah.
And I was watching your work with the Wonder Twins. Remember that dance you did?
Yeah, they danced. And I did.
Yeah, dancing. You did the animation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I love that, man. That was really convincing.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, dance is great. It's I don't think though. I don't see myself doing another film though, because it's just, think about film that is it so technologically oriented. And if I go to see Casablanca, I love Casablanca, but oh yeah, black and white film. Ooh, that's really bad, grainy. So it's just so technologically oriented. I imagine a film buff can watch a film and tell you within 10 years when it was made. So it's somewhat discouraging. But whereas a harpsichord, that's old, but piano's old. You can play modern music on it and it sounds great if you can keep it alive. Yeah. So I don't know if I'll do another film.
Yeah, but But yeah, anybody wants to make an animated film, Amy and I apparently we're ready.
Where's my sign that says we'll animate for food?
Would you still use the Adobe product, or
Yeah.
we use it? You still use that?
Yep.
Okay.
I still, and Photoshop. You can do some beautiful things with Photoshop.
Okay.
And I had, we may have access to Harmony at Leslie now, but I'm not positive.
What's that?
Harmony, they make Toon Boom.
Okay.
And it's
Animation software.
it's another.
Hmm.
I had a student this semester who did her project in that, and it's beautiful. I have a student also who did one in Photoshop, and it's, Nick, I have to show it to you. You're gonna love it.
Mm-hmm.
If Susan will let me show it to you. I think she's here, or she was here.
Oh. Susan being your student, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we have, but I'd kind of like to talk a little more about the story. One of the things that really inspired me to work on this is that I had noticed before I met Mark and heard the Fleuri story that an awful lot of the classic and great children's stories begin and end in a nursery. Peter Pan, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz is not in a nursery, but she's home. And home is always a problem at the beginning of the story. And home is kind of a solution, but a somewhat ambiguous solution at the end of the story. Maybe not in our story. I don't know. So I don't know if I have a question about it, but I wonder if either of you have thought about why that arc is so compelling for children and those are the other example is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. The children are out in the countryside because of London is being bombed in World War II, and there's nothing to do there, and it's all their friends are gone, and one of them looks inside the wardrobe and there's a whole world there, and it's and Alice in Wonderland is another example. She's watching her sister read a book, and the book has no pictures, and she feels like life is not worth living because this book has no pictures, and suddenly she's surrounded by these pictures. But the thing about all those stories is that the Wonderland, or the Never Land, or the Land of Oz is terrible, is simultaneously beautiful and terrible. Very, very threatening and very fearful. And I think that's why, we've been living through some hard times, and it's just watching it this time in particular. I feel like we need stories about surviving dangerous and difficult times. What's my question? I don't know. I don't have a question.
One of my favorite moments is in the last movement. Fleuri Rose gets home, and they sit around the bed, and Fleuri Rose recounts the adventures, and everybody's going, ah, 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 ah. I thought that's just one of my favorite favorite moments.
And Amy worked in the See No Evil.
Yeah.
That's right. I was doing the monkey series of paintings at that time.
Yeah.
So that's why Sock Monkey had to be there.
Right.
And
Okay.
my friend Karen, who loves Sock Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are we getting any more questions from viewers? So, have we got any viewers?
We're getting thank yous.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, we can just thank everybody.
Okay.
Unless there are more that I missed.
As far as how long I thought it would take, I don't think I considered that. I mean, as Amy said, it was beautiful that the the deal was keep on working until we got it where we like it. And
Yeah.
then we'll be done. It was, we finally had to kind of create a deadline because it could have gone on forever. That we premiered the movie in a 4-Point Theater show, 4-Point Theater Channel anthology show called Film Stock. It was we showed films by Julius and Marchi and Pele. What was her name? Pele? And anyway, we had a bunch of different films, and then at the end we showed Fleuri. And once we had set the date for that, that sort of became the whip that got us to the finish line.
Right.
But in the early days, I don't think we really felt like we had to get it done in any kind of a hurry. Just do it. Very good times. Very happy to have worked with you guys.
It was fun. I think you guys, I mean, I only worked with some vague ideas, but now you've totally nailed the story. And I enjoy watching it every now and then because it makes me feel good. It's a nice story. And coming home is such a nice Fleuri Rose, making it home. Everybody's happy and they go to bed. And I don't know, it just makes me feel good. You guys really did a great job, and I appreciate it a whole lot.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So I guess we'll wrap this up then. I want to thank you for tuning into our event. Hope you've enjoyed it. The 4-Point Theater Channel has a website which you might want to check out. It's I think it should be in the YouTube in the comments there. Click on that. These are tough times now with the pandemic spreading around the world. But if you want to support the activities of 4-Point Theater Channel, such as this event, there is a simple way to make a financial contribution on the 4-Point Theater Channel website. And we appreciate your time and attention. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.